Romans 3:23. For all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Romans 5:12. Wherefore as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passed upon all men, for that all have sinned. And Romans 6:23. For the wages of sin is death. We think about the wages of sin, and we always simply say it's death. Sin is what separates us from God. It's missing the mark. It's coming short of the glory of God. But sin cost a lot of things, a lot more than just our death. The first cost that I want to talk about is the cost for creation. In Genesis 3:14 through 15, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, Because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. And it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The snake went from being a magnificent creature to what we now know today. From the way that we read this, it could be that the snake originally had feet, that it walked around. Could be, I know in some mythologies, the snake had wings. Could have been that the snake was one that flew from tree to tree, glided, maybe. But because of sin, the snake now has to crawl around on its ground, and we see it as a dirty, horrible creature for the most part. I know my brother, for one, thinks that they're fascinating most of the time. I and my mother are kind of creeped out by it. And that's because it dates all the way back to the garden, what happened there. Genesis 3:21, Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skin and clothe them. Creation had to die to clothe us. Leviticus 4:3, 13 through 14, 20 through 23, 27 through 28. There were many different sin offerings. It says, if the priest that is anointed does sin according to the sin of the people, then let him bring for his sin which he has sinned a young bullock without blemish unto the Lord for a sin offering. And if the whole congregation of Israel sins through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done something against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, when the sin which they have sinned against it is known, then the congregation shall offer a young bullock for the sin, and bring him before the tabernacle of the congregation. When a ruler hath sinned, and done somewhat through ignorance against any of the commandments of the Lord his God concerning things which should not be done, and is guilty, or if his sin, wherein he hath sinned, come to his knowledge, he shall bring his offering, a kid of goats, a male without blemish. And if any one of the common people sin through ignorance, while he doeth somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which ought not to be done, and be guilty, or if his sin which he hath sinned come to his knowledge, then he shall bring his offering, a kid of the goats, a female, without blemish, for his sin which he hath sinned. Leviticus 5:6 through 7, 11, 15, 17 through 18, Leviticus 4:13. And he shall bring his trespass offering unto the Lord for his sin which he hath sinned, a female from the flock, a lamb or a kid of goats for a sin offering, and the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his sin. And if he be not able to bring a lamb, then he shall bring for his trespass which he hath committed 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons unto the Lord, one for a sin offering, the other for a burnt offering. But if he be not able to bring 2 turtle doves unto the Lord, one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, then he that sinned shall bring for his offering the 10th part of an ephah of fine flour for a sin offering. He shall put no oil upon it, neither shall he put any frankincense thereon, for it is a sin offering. And if the whole congregation of Israel sin through ignorance, and the thing be hid from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done somewhat against any of the commandments of the Lord concerning things which should not be done, and are guilty, if a soul commit a trespass and sin through ignorance in the holy things of the Lord, then he shall bring for his trespass unto the Lord a ram without blemish out of the flocks, with thy estimation by shekels of silver, after the shekel of the sanctuary, for a trespass offering. And if a soul sin and commit any of these things which are forbidden to be done by the commandments of the Lord, though he wist it not, yet is he guilty, and shall bear his iniquity. And he shall bring a ram without blemish out of the flock with thy estimation for a trespass offering unto the priest, and the priest shall make an atonement for him concerning his ignorance wherein he erred and wist it not, and it shall be forgiven of him. Lots of different creatures were listed in Leviticus for the different types of sin offerings. But the last cost for creation that I'm going to go into right now comes from Revelation 16:3. All these costs so far for creation have been from the past, but there will still be another cost in the future. In Revelation 16:3 it says, "And the second angel poured out his vial upon the sea, and it became as the blood of a dead man, and every living soul died in the sea." Creation will die during the end times, and it will be God's wrath upon sin. It will not be their fault. It will be the fault of man and our sin that we bear. Just this year, they found new creatures in the sea when the explorer was down there. Things we had never even seen yet. There may well be life down there that we will still not know of. But when the Lord comes back, afterwards, when he pours out his wrath, all of the creation there will die. And it will be because of a cost of our sin.